Good morning students, myself Lokesh, working as assistant professor in Vijnana Narayan Institute of Technology and Science. So with our last class, we have completed our first unit, that is in situ densification of soils. Okay, we also completed the revision. From now onwards, we are going to learn second unit, that is dewatering. Okay, in the name itself it indicates dewatering, right? Which means removal of water from a given ground. Okay, for example, if our site contains water table at a high level, then it is very difficult to lay the foundation and also very difficult to do excavation work. In order to prevent all those problems, the first criteria we have to do is we have to remove all the water from our site. Okay, we have to reduce the water table in our locality. Okay, so that's all regarding this dewatering methods. Okay, these are the various methods to dewatering in a given site. Okay. So let's come to the first one. The first one is sumps and ditches. Sumps and ditches means nothing but we are going to excavate a open ditch. Okay. From that we are going to lay some pumps. Through that we are going to remove all the water. It's a very simple method and can be obtainable only for up to a depth of 8 meters. Okay. And the second one is single stage well point system. This can be adapted up to a depth of 15 to 20 meters. In the name itself it indicates we are going to excavate a well. Okay, through the well we have to provide some screening and we have to use some pumps in order to remove all the water. Okay, the next one is multi-stage well point system. Multi-stage. So first of all we are going to excavate a well around our site. Okay, through these wells we are going to reduce the water table to certain depth. Okay, then we carry out the excavation work. Again we are going into the excavation work. From there we are going to excavate again wells. Okay, again we are going to reduce the water table level. So again excavation. So excavation of wells, reduction of water table. Again we carry out our excavation work as usual. Again construct a well point. Okay, and remove all the water and carry out excavation work. Like that we are going to do this for multiple times. So that's why it is known as multi-stage well point system. Okay, in the first stage we are removing a water up to a depth of 5 meters. Okay, so for that 5 meters we carry out our excavation work. So after going in deep to the 5 meters, then again we are going to construct another wells. Again we are pumping out the water. So with the second stage we have removed the water up to a depth of 10 meters. Okay, and we carry out the excavation work. Again go into the excavation work. Again construction well points, again remove the water. So like that we are going to excavate wells and we are going to remove the water in various stages. Okay, so that's why it is known as multi-stage well point system. By using this technique we can remove the water up to a depth of 30 meters. Okay, and the next one is vacuum well points. Vacuum well points is similar to single stage well point system. So here we are using some pumps, some centrifugal pumps to remove the water. Here we are using vacuum. Okay, vacuum suck all the water into the pump. So like that by using a vacuum force we are removing all the water from our site. Okay, and the next one is horizontal wells. Horizontal wells can be used where the quantity of water available in our site is very high. Then we go for this horizontal wells. Okay, and the next one is here we have a filler material. Okay, we just cannot but dig a borehole and apply the pumps. Okay, we have to provide some filler material. It acts as a screening material. Okay, just like in the case of big drains, throughout the core we have a filter jacket. Here we are also using filter material. So what is this filter material? We use sand as a filter material. Okay, we excavate a well point. In the well point, around the well point, we lay some filler material. Okay, between those filler material, we are going to install our pumps. Okay, if you go to the concept and we watch some videos, then it is very easy to understand. So there is some criteria for the choice of filler material around the drains. Okay, there are some factors that affecting the sand filler material. Okay, and the next one is electroosmosis. By using this method also, we can attract the water to certain point only. So rather than excavating our wells throughout our site, we are going to use this electroosmosis method. It has a positive and negative charges. they attract the water to certain locality through at a single point. So if we dig a well at that point, we can take out so much quantity of water. Okay. So these are the various methods that we are going to use to remove the water from our site. Okay. So coming to the next one, dewatering. In the name itself, it indicates it's a process of removing groundwater, which ensures construction work can occur safely. This word is very important, safety. Okay. If there is so much of water available in our site and we do the construction work without using dewatering method, then there is a chance of collapse of ground. Okay. We also seen so many accidents that may occur when the workers are carrying out the excavation work. The backfill, they excavate the soil and they place the fill just near the excavation pit. Okay. If it has during rainy seasons, all this backfill may again collapse into the excavation pit. Okay. Because of this, so much of loss is going to occur. So in order to prevent this, first of all, we are removing all the water from our side. Not only the groundwater, but the water can also occur due to the rains or also due to some other reasons. Okay. So all the water from our side is going to remove, is known as a dewatering. So next one. So what is the purpose of dewatering? The first one, this is classified into two types. First one is during construction stage. Second one is after the construction stage or post construction stage. It has two purposes. First one, during the construction stage, we need to use this dewatering method. Why? To carry out dry excavation. Remember, excavation means removal of dry soil, whereas there is another word called dredging. Dredging means if we carry out the excavation work under the water level. For example, we are removing the soil under a river, then it is known as a dredging. Okay. So this word we also use frequently. So dredging means excavation under the water, that is known as a dredging. So what is our purpose of dewatering? To carry out dry excavation or to prevent dredging. Okay. And the second one is to proceed efficiently. Okay. If we have a water in our site, then it is very difficult to remove all the excavation material. So it takes so much of cost and time. In order to prevent all this, to proceed efficient excavation work, we need to use this dewatering method. And the next one is, it also reduces lateral loads. Lateral loads means horizontal loads on sheeting and bracing in excavations. Okay. When we are going for deep excavations, we use some bracings or some sheeting material. Like, see, this is the excavation pit I need to excavate. So we are providing some supporting material to prevent the fall down of soil into the excavation pit. On both sides, on all sides, we use some sheets or bracing material. Okay, these are supported each other like this. These are known as bracings and sheeting works. They generally used when we need to excavate for larger depths. Okay, so if we use this dewater methods, it reduces the lateral load. The load coming from the soil onto the sheets is going to reduce. Okay, so this is one of the purpose to use. So this is one of the purpose to use this. This is one of the purpose to use dewatering method. Okay, to reduce the lateral loads on sheeting and bracing. If we use, when they are going to use, we generally use sheeting and bracing when we need to carry out larger depth of excavation work. So what is the purpose of using sheets and bracing? To prevent the fall down of soil into the excavation pit. Okay. So the next one is improve. The next one is improve supporting characteristics of foundation materials. So the main purpose of using ground improvement techniques is to improve the characteristics or properties of foundation material. What is the foundation material? It is a soil. So to improve or to support the properties of soil, we need to use this dewatering method. So in order to obtain all these purposes, we must use dewatering techniques. Okay. So coming to the next one. These are also the purpose during construction stage only. So increase stability of excavation slopes and side hill fills. Side hill fills means back fills. When we excavate the soil, we just place it sides of our excavation pit. So that is known as side hill fills. So the backfill is going to form a hill type structure. Okay, see this one. We are excavating all this soil. Where we are depositing this soil? Just beneath our excavation pits. When we excavate this location, all the soil is going to pour next to the excavation pit. That is going to form a upheaval hill type structure. So that's why it is known as side hill fills. Okay. So increase the stability of excavation slopes. We generally do not carry these sphere shape excavations. What shape we generally do excavate? We generally excavate in the slopes. Okay. This trapezoidal shape is more stable than this rectangular one. These are having high chances to fall into the excavation pit. But here the chances to fall into the excavation pit is very less. So that's why whenever we carry out excavation work, we generally carry out in the shape of trapezoidal shape. Okay, we do not do exactly rectangular shape. So increase the stability of these excavation slopes and the backfill or the side hill fills. Okay, in order to increase the stability of the excavation slope and the back hill that we provided just besides the excavation pit. To increase those two stabilities, we must use dewatering method. Okay. If any water content is available for these slopes and this backfill, then immediately they may collapse into the excavation pit. So in order to prevent it and to increase its stability, we must use dewatering methods. And the next one is to cut off capillary rise and prevent piping and frost heaving in pavements. In case of pavements, when we construct a road work, the main problem is there might be a chance of capillary rise. Capillary rise means we already know it's a phenomena of rise of water between the due to the adhesive forces. We discussed only about cohesion. Cohesion means it's a attractive force between two similar particles. If this is one particle and this is one particle, if both the particles are soil, or both the particles are water, or both the particles are anything but same, the attractive force between two similar particles is known as cohesion, that we already know. But there is another word called adhesion. Adhesion means it is also an attractive force between two different particles. The attractive force between soil and water, okay, is known as adhesion. Due to the adhesion, the water may rise in upward direction, which imparts some pressure on a pavements. In order to prevent this capillary rise and prevent piping, piping means the soil flows in a horizontal direction. Okay, let's discuss one by one. What is a capillary rise? So let's discuss one by one. Capillary rise. For example, this is our road network that we already completed. We have completed this road network, or whether it is during the construction stage. The groundwater is available at very lower depth. See, this is a groundwater table. We are not using any dewatering methods. We just completed the completion of construction work for the road. So what will happen? Because of the attractive force between water particle and soil particle, thus the water may rise in upward direction. Why? The soil above the water surface is attracting the water. That is due to adhesion forces. So the upward water is known as pore water pressure. So those pore water pressure apply the load on a pavement structure. So which may result in undulations in a constructed road. So to prevent this one, we must use dewatering methods, so that the water table may reduce it to lower level. So there is no capillary rise. Even though there is a capillary rise, that may not reach our pavement. Okay. To prevent it, we must use capillary rise. And the second one is piping. Piping means the water flows in horizontal direction. Okay. When it is flowing in a horizontal direction, it takes away all the particles in its way. Okay. There is some soil particles. When it's flowing in horizontal direction, it picks up all the water, all the soil particles along with it. So it causes a erosion. It finally forms a pipe-like structure. See, pipe means a hollow member. Here, when the water is flowing, it takes away all the soil particles. So here nothing is there. So it seems to be like a pipe. So that's why it is known as prevent piping. Piping means when the water flows in a horizontal direction, it erodes all the soil particles through it. Okay. So in order to reduce the capillary rise and to prevent the piping and frost heaving. Frost heaving means nothing but a swelling. Okay. When it applies a capillary pressure on a pavement, its level may increase like this. So this rise in height is known as frost heaving. Okay. So to prevent all these three parameters, we must use dewatering methods. So that is the purpose of dewatering method. And the next one is reduce air pressure in tunneling operation. When you are using some tunneling operations, we use this air pressure. But if it contains so much of water, it reduces the air pressure in tunneling operations. So in order to obtain all these purposes, we must use dewatering methods. Okay. So coming to the next one, post-construction stage. That means after the construction, what is the purpose of using dewatering methods? So let's see. Reduce lateral pressure on retaining structures. Previously, we used some sheets and bracings to prevent the slopes. But here, retaining structure means it's a retaining wall. Generally used to retain the soil. It is generally used in case of hilly areas. Okay. For example, there is a high slope. We use some wall which is known as a retaining wall. So the purpose of this retaining wall is to retain all the soil. Here we have a road pavement. Here we have a road and we constructed a retaining wall to prevent all the soil to fall on a road. So if there is any water is there, if any water present in this soil, then it imparts some horizontal loads on a retaining wall, which results in a failure of retaining wall. If once the retaining wall fails, all the soil will fall onto the roads. Okay, this is generally observed when we are going for Tirupati or for Durga temple in Vijayawada. In such areas, we can find this retaining wall. So in order to reduce these lateral pressures, what we are doing is we provide some holes. Okay, the retaining wall contains series of number of holes. If any water during rainy seasons coming to the soil, the water may escape through these holes. Once there is a chance to escape, it does not impart any pressure on a retaining wall. So here, like this is a cross section, right? Like this we provide some pipes. So all the water come out of the retaining wall through those pipes. So once it came all out of the water, then there is no lateral pressure on a retaining wall. Okay. And the second one is control embankment seepage in all dams. In all dams. The first one is embankment. Embankment means it is generally used for the construction of roadways. See, do you remember embankment and cutting? Embankment means, for example, we construct a slope surface like this with the soil. So what we are doing, over this embankment we are going to lay our road network. Okay, this is a road. To increase the level of road, what we are doing, we are constructing a embankment with the soil. So once it has any water content present in it, then there is an occurrence of seepage. Seepage means the flow of water in the horizontal direction. So once it has seepage, then there is a chance of piping action. So once piping action occurs, all the slopes of an embankment may fail. So once the slope of embankment fails, then immediately the road constructed over the embankment may also fail. In order to prevent this embankment seepage in all dams, what we are doing? We are using this dewatering methods. Okay. And the last one is control seepage and pore water pressure beneath the pavements, side hill fields and cut slopes. This is nothing but an embankment slope. Or if we lay a road network in this place, it is known as a cutting slope. This is a road in embankment. This is a road in cutting. Okay, we cut the soil, then we lay a road network. So to control the seepage on cutting slopes, embankment slopes and side hills, if we provide any. To control the seepage in these three cases, we must use dewatering methods. Okay. So coming to the next one, reduce or eliminate uplift pressure. Uplift pressure is nothing but due to the capillary rise. So once there is a capillary rise, that imparts some pressure at the bottom of the pavement, which is known as a uplift pressure on bottom of slabs and permit economics from the reduction of slab thickness for basement. See, once there is uplift pressure that we cannot remove, what we are doing? We are increasing the thickness of the slab. For more thickness, if you provide more thickness, then even though there is a seepage pressure, it can be able to bear the seepage pressure. So that's why it permits the economics in terms of money. So how? If there is no uplift pressure, we provide small thickness road. If there is a uplift pressure, we have to provide large thickness of roads. So that also impacts the economics. Okay. From the reduction of slab thickness for basements, buried structure or canal lining or spillways or dry docks. For example, canal linings. If there is any seepage pressure in a canal, what will happen? All the water may escape from the canal through those seepage holes. So to prevent it, what we have to do? We need to line the canals. That is known as canal lining. And even in the case of spillways and dry docks also, it reducing the cost of a structure if we use these dewatering methods. Okay. So these are the purposes during the construction stage and post construction stage. Okay. So because to reduce all these problems, we must use dewatering methods. Okay. So coming to the next one, what are the various factors that controlling the selection of method of dewatering? We have about 5 methods, that is sumption ditches, single stage, multi-stage well point system, horizontal wells and electroosmosis. What are the factors that is making us to use what method? So the first one is nature and permeability of the ground. If we have to remove the water, permeability is the most important one. If the soil present in our site is clay, it contains so much of water, but it has very less permeability. It does not allow the water to flow. It retains the water in it. So based on the nature and permeability of the ground, we need to select what is the best method suitable for this type of condition. And the second one is geological conditions of soil. Geological conditions means nothing but topography, that is slope. For example, our site is situated at very low level when compared to the surroundings. So what happens? All the water from the surroundings getting stagnated in our site. So based on the geological conditions of soil, we can estimate what quantity of water we need to remove. See, for example, this is our site and this is our surrounding sites. Our surrounding site is at much higher level. Our site is at a very low level. So what happens? All the water from our surroundings is keep on coming to our site only. So here the quantity of water that we need to remove is very high. So geological condition of soil also will impact what is the method that we need to adopt. And the next one is extent of area to be dewatered. So it is strictly based on area. For what much of area we need to excavate. For example, sumption ditches, the first method. Sumption ditches cannot be used for area, cannot be used for larger areas. It is useful only for smaller areas. If we use it for larger areas, we cannot remove the water effectively. Okay. The next one is depth of water table below the ground level. This is a very important factor. For example, the groundwater is available at somewhat lower depth, not exactly close to the surface. In such cases, we use well point system or electroosmosis to remove the water at larger depths. Or if the water is available at very lower depths, then we use sumption ditches. Okay. If we excavate, for example, for 6 meters, we get the water table. So in such cases it is better to use sumps and ditches. Whereas if the water table is available at 10 meters or 15 meters, we cannot do a excavation, open excavation. So in such cases what we are going to use? We are going to use whether multi-stage or single-stage well point system or electro-osmosis method. Okay. And the next one is, last one is amount by which it has to be lowered. Here the amount means the amount of water we need to lower. For example, we need to reduce a water level to a depth of 2 meters. Okay, we need to reduce a water table for 2 meters depth. So what is the amount of water that we need to remove? This is because of, based on the amount also, it changes from method to method. By using sumps, we use only single pump. Okay, we are excavating one excavation pit and we are lowering some pumps. So that pump is removing all the water. But the amount of water is very high, one pump may not be sufficient. So in such cases, we have to go for multi-stage well points. In that method, we are going to use about 10 to 20 pumps to remove all the water. So if the amount of water available is very high, then we go for one method. The amount of water available in our site is very less, then we go for sumps and ditches method. Okay. So the next one is proposed method of excavation and ground support. For example, we choose sumps and ditches method. But what is the ground support? That is a sandy soil. As we all know, we cannot construct a slopes on sandy soil. So we cannot do a excavation work like this. Okay, it is all is a sandy material. So it will easily fall down because it has very less shear strength. So based on the ground support and the soil available in our site, we can also choose what is the method we need to adapt. And the last one is proximity of existing structure. If there is any existing structure, so what's its impact on method that we are going to use. So these are the various factors that affect the choice of dewatering methods. Okay. So let's conclude today's class. And coming to the summary, so the first point that we learn in today's class is what is a dewatering. Dewatering means removal of, it's a process of removal of water available in our site through various methods. And the second one is what is the purpose of dewatering. It is divided into two types, that is during construction and the second one is post construction, that means after the construction work is over. So what is the purpose of dewatering in these two cases that we have completed? And the next one is what are the factors affecting? What are the various factors affecting the selection of dewatering method? What are the various factors affecting? So with this we have completed the introduction for dewatering methods. From our next class we are going to start the first method, that is sumps and ditches. Thank you.